It's really great to see so many people from different countries here to support the cause for human rights in Vietnam. Speaking for myself personally, I don't have any Vietnamese blood, so I'm often asked why I'm standing here for human rights in Vietnam. I've chosen Vietnam because I see it as a part of a bigger fight for human rights. I've realized that the only reason why I have rights here today is because I was lucky enough to have been born in a country where people have fought, struggled, and made a difference. The result? I am here able to express my thoughts and opinions, a freedom that many people in Vietnam do not have.
And I'm here because I know I can make a difference. Not because I'm more special than anybody else, but because I care. And if you guys are here today, it's because you care too. There are people in this world who sacrifice their lives for the well-being and the happiness and the rights of others, and I believe that that's all that's good in this world. And I want to fight for them, and I think we have to protect them. And this all connects to Vietnamplify as a movement.
Yes, so we are a movement of mixed ethnicity, myself as an example, that started in Montreal to fight for human rights in Vietnam. Sorry, I'm struggling with the mic. We want to educate both Canadians and Vietnamese citizens on the urgent, ongoing human rights violations in Vietnam.
Donc, nous sommes un mouvement formé par des Montréalais d'origines diverses qui veulent sensibiliser la population aux violations des droits de l'homme au Vietnam. Donc, nous voulons éduquer à la fois la population canadienne, mais aussi les citoyens vietnamiens qui sont au Vietnam sur les violations qui arrivent dans leur propre pays.
To do this, we have been using social media platforms to share credible information to as many people as possible.
Donc, pour ce faire, nous utilisons plusieurs médias sociaux pour partager de l'information. Donc, nous demandons, par exemple, si vous voyez une vidéo, un article qui parle, qui dénonce des violations des droits de l'homme au Vietnam, que ce soit par Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch ou d'autres organisations, de faire un hashtag Vietnamplify. Et bien sûr, nous essayons d'organiser des événements, dont la marche et la conférence d'aujourd'hui, par exemple.
Yes, so if you find any photos or videos or articles about the violations in Vietnam, please hashtag Vietnamplify. Here's an example of a video we've posted on Facebook. So listen very carefully to the song lyrics and ring the bell every time you hear words criticizing politics or social situations.
Yeah, have you noticed how in election time terrorism's high? Feels like someone's counting on the fear that they organize, so they can patronize the people into breaking law. They literally be breaking news and turn them into breaking lies. So the government's warn us about a new enemy scaring me now. I be like, what are they trying to sell me here? Nothing but a political party. Another scheme, here's a new mission for the army. Ain't what it seems. Tell me, straight down, one day, yeah.
Today, we are constantly bombarded by violent imagery that we mentally delete once the video is done. As you may have noticed, we chose to address the heavy subject of media censorship in Vietnam in a lighthearted way to engage the youth. Canada is an influential country. We hope that with enough support, we can put international pressure on the Vietnamese government to make changes.
Le Canada est un pays qui a beaucoup d'influence et nous espérons qu'avec beaucoup de support, il a la capacité de mettre de la pression internationale sur le Vietnam.
We have decided to be apolitical as a movement. That means we do not represent any political party. We want change within Vietnam. And to do this, it's important for us to educate the Vietnamese citizens so that they can make their own informed decisions about their current government. And to do that, we need to represent education that can be accessible to all.
Donc, nous avons décidé de rester apolitique. Nous voulons du changement à l'intérieur du Vietnam. Donc, nous voulons éduquer les citoyens vietnamiens sur les violations qui arrivent dans leur pays pour qu'ils puissent prendre eux-mêmes leurs propres décisions sur leur gouvernement. Et nous voulons représenter une éducation qui est accessible à tous.
Because human rights should be placed above any political system, at the foundation in the creation and development of all laws. We accept people from all political, religious, and social backgrounds. Differences in opinion must be accepted as part of the discussion for human rights.
Les droits humains devraient être placés au-dessus des systèmes politiques et devraient être le fondement dans la création de toutes les lois. Donc, pour cette raison, nous respectons, nous acceptons les personnes de différents bagages éducatifs, sociaux, politiques. Donc, nous comprenons que la différence de croyance fait partie de la discussion des droits humains.
That said, we have gathered many speakers to present today. We want to emphasize that everyone should show respect to the speakers while they present. You will have the chance to speak during the Q&A.
Donc, nous voulons vous rappeler l'importance de respecter les conférenciers pendant leur présentation et tout le monde aura une chance de donner des commentaires ou poser des questions durant la période de questions à la fin.
So we'll have Erwin Kotler, former Minister of Justice and Attorney General, founder and international chair of the Raoul Wallenberg Center for Human Rights. He will follow. He will follow us with short words and will later be part of a conversation for human rights. He will be then we will have NDP Deputy Anmin Tukwash, who would like to say a few words as well before we close our opening remarks. Then we will have Ilang Ta and Frederick Volvan, who will present an overview of the human rights situation in Vietnam.
We will then, yes.
We can also clap.
People don't know you.
They will.
We will then welcome Mr. Dang Chi Hung, a former prisoner of conscience, who will share with us his story. He came all the way from Toronto. To present the Formosa disaster, we were inviting Mr. Nguyen Duy Vinh, who has published 2 scientific articles on Formosa. And today we said we had 2 anonymous speakers. Well, the other anonymous speakers, it's actually an exclusive video from the priest that Nam directly from Vietnam, who has sent us a couple of words personally for our event, for this conference, today that will follow right after Mr. Nguyen Duy Vinh. And then there's an intermission, sorry, for 15 minutes.
Next, we will have the panel of human rights activists. As previously mentioned, Erwin Kotler will be part of this panel. We also have Michael Simkin, who's a human rights lawyer who is currently defending the refugees in the Snowden case. So he's right there. We will also have Christina Bergeron, who's a co-leader of an Amnesty International local group in Montreal. Finally, the conference will end with a 20-minute Q&A. All the speakers will be present, so this is your chance to ask anything that was not addressed in the conference. There will also be a 15-minute break, as Valerie had said before, and this will be sorry. So we would like to remind you that Concordia University has specified that food is not allowed in the auditorium, unfortunately.
So you can go eat during the intermission. You can go get food. There's a lot of cafes around.
Yeah, but unfortunately you can't bring it in. So. Yeah.
So the conference is scheduled to end at 3:30. We're gonna try as hard as we can. But please do not leave. The most important part of this event is the march that we're organizing at the end. It will start at 3:45. So this is our opportunity to make lots of noise for Vietnam.
Yeah.
Each person who marches on the street of Vietnam today represents one person in Vietnam who cannot do it him or herself. So you are important, and speak loudly and clearly.
We hope you enjoyed the conference and learn how to amplify the truth about Vietnam.
Alors, nous espérons que vous allez profiter de la conférence, vous allez en apprendre beaucoup sur les droits humains au Vietnam et que vous allez apprendre à amplifier la vérité sur le Vietnam.
So, presenting Erwin Kotler, who would like to take the floor.
Merci, Valérie et Cynthia. Je voudrais... OK, yeah. Je voudrais d'abord féliciter Valérie et Cynthia pour leur engagement, pour leur leadership et pour leur fidélité à la liberté, à la démocratie et les droits de la personne. C'est un grand plaisir pour moi d'être ici aujourd'hui et de participer dans la cause commune qui nous rassemble, la cause pour les droits de la personne. Et de cette cause, de cette lutte pour les droits de la personne, of this struggle as being very much our struggle, as being, in the last analysis, the struggle for ourselves, la lutte pour nous-mêmes. Because in what we say, en ce que nous disons est plus important, en ce que nous faisons, in what we do, we make a statement about ourselves as a people. We make a statement about ourselves as people. I want to say that the case and cause of human rights in Vietnam, or I would say rather la lutte pour les droits de la personne en Vietnam, had been at the forefront of my concerns even from the beginning of my involvement as a member of parliament. One of my first interventions in the House as an MP dealt with the issue of human rights in Vietnam. It spoke about la question des prisonniers politiques, l'importance de la liberté fondamentale, la liberté de la religion, la liberté d'expression, la liberté de la religion. I spoke also then about the need to combat discrimination in Vietnam and indeed of the need to struggle for freedom and democracy for the Vietnamese people as a whole. This characterized my work throughout as an MP. The most comprehensive motions, and they're on the record and they are a matter of public record, the most comprehensive motions I presented on issues of human rights and democracy were resolutions that I presented with respect to the case and cause of human rights and democracy in Vietnam. And I want to pay tribute in particular, not only to those witnesses from Vietnam who appeared before our committee, because interestingly enough, the last hearings I was able to act as a vice chair, the hearings of our Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on International Human Rights in Vietnam. Our last 3 hearings in which I participated as a member of parliament were hearings on the case and cause of human rights in Vietnam. And so I began my work, j'ai commencé à l'égard de la lutte pour les droits de l'homme avec les droits de la personne de Vietnamese. Et j'ai conclu mon engagement à la même sujet. Et ce que je veux dire aujourd'hui, c'est particulièrement important d'avoir l'engagement des jeunes, d'avoir l'engagement des jeunes à la tête d'un mouvement pour les droits de la personne. D'avoir l'engagement des jeunes pour un cri de cœur, pour un mouvement pour les droits de la personne et pour un mouvement démocratie. Et je veux conclure avec les mots que la lutte pour les droits de la personne, comme j'ai dit, c'est la lutte pour nous-mêmes. Et de ce que nous allons faire est plus important, de ce que nous allons dire et faire. Ça peut avoir une importance pour le peuple vietnamien à Vietnam. Et ce qui est très important, c'est pour le peuple vietnamien de comprendre, to understand that they are not alone. Que nous marchons en solidarité avec le peuple vietnamien. That we will continue our struggle until the people of Vietnam are free, can give expression, as you saw in the beginning here. Young Canadians can engage in art, can engage in speech, can engage in expression, and can be celebrated for it. Young people in Vietnam engaging in the same art, in the same speech, in the same expression, run the risk of being imprisoned and being brutalized in prison. We have to ensure that the rights that are available to Canadians in Canada are available to Vietnamese in Vietnam. Merci.
And Mintu Quash will now come up to close the opening remarks with a few thoughts of her own.
Nous invitons Madame Anne Mintu Quash à venir terminer le mot de bienvenue.
Alors, bonjour, hi, Xin chào quý vị. Merci infiniment aux 2 organisatrices. En fait, au comité organisateur, on a ici Valérie Fan et Cynthia Machado, qui sont les 2 figures de proue, mais il y a eu toute une bande de jeunes qui nous ont accueillis ce midi plutôt. Et c'est admirable de voir que ça vient des jeunes, souvent dans des événements d'envergure comme ceux-ci. je suis une des plus jeunes et pas aujourd'hui. Alors, je suis vraiment fière en tant que porte-parole jeunesse de voir que les jeunes se mobilisent pour des causes pacifiques, pour des causes aussi très positives qui peuvent disperser l'espoir à travers le monde et, dans le cas précis aujourd'hui, au Vietnam. Alors, il me fait très plaisir d'être ici. C'est un honneur pour moi de succéder à l'honorable Erwin Cutler, que j'admire énormément aussi pour tout le travail qu'il a accompli pour la cause des droits humains pour les Vietnamiens. Alors, merci infiniment, M. Cutler. Ça vaut aussi, Et je trouve ça très important d'être là aujourd'hui parce que je suis une fille de réfugiés vietnamiens. C'est grâce à mes parents qui ont eu le courage de fuir le Vietnam après la guerre du Vietnam, après l'entrée des communistes. Ils ont eu le courage de quitter, de risquer leur vie, de risquer la vie de leurs enfants pour avoir justement offrir le meilleur d'eux-mêmes, le meilleur pour leurs enfants, pour leur avenir. Et donc, je me sens un devoir à chaque événement, à chaque fois que je le peux, de prendre la parole, de dénoncer les violations de droits humains au Vietnam, de contribuer autant que je peux pour faire avancer la cause des droits humains. C'est sûr, partout à travers la planète pour la justice sociale, mais également pour le Vietnam, étant donné que mes racines sont vietnamiennes. J'ai appris beaucoup en tant que députée depuis 6 ans. J'ai appris beaucoup au courant de cette expérience auprès des plus âgés qui sont à plusieurs reprises venus cogner à ma porte parce que je suis aussi la porte-parole pour le comité Vietnam-Canada et on est plusieurs là-dessus. Il y a d'ailleurs le sénateur Nho aussi qui va être représenté aujourd'hui. Mais il y a plusieurs autres députés et à travers ce comité-là, on réussit aussi à faire en sorte de pouvoir sensibiliser, d'amener des dossiers comme des violations de droits humains, comme vous allez en entendre parler tout à l'heure de la catastrophe de Formosa au Vietnam. Donc, c'est très important pour moi de pouvoir recevoir l'information. Il y a des journalistes qui envoient de l'information, il y a des citoyens qui envoient de l'information, il y a des gens qui sont impliqués à travers des mouvements comme Vietnamplify. Donc, c'est pas un travail d'une personne, c'est pas le travail de Anne Minh Thu Quach. C'est sûr que présentement, je suis la seule députée vietnamienne au Parlement. Il y en a eu 2 autres avant moi, mais ça prend d'autres personnes, ça prend des gens comme vous qui sont impliqués. We need a lot more of people, not only people like me that are member of parliament, but we need advocates like you. You are people who will be involved, like today, in a movement to denounce the violations of human rights. And we need you. Myself, I'm only one person. I have only one voice, even if I represent people. I need you. We need to work all together to make things better. So, à travers les années, j'ai pu travailler avec les gens pour rédiger des lettres au ministre des Affaires étrangères, aux multiples ministres qui se sont succédés depuis les 6 dernières années. Il y a eu des rencontres avec une ressortissante du Vietnam qui était la conjointe d'un prisonnier politique. Il y a plusieurs actions qu'on peut mener. Il y a eu dernièrement au Parlement la première journée d'action pour les droits humains, de défense des droits humains, de la défense des droits humains. Et c'était aussi une première pour les Vietnamiens. Alors, je suis fière d'être vietnamienne, je suis fière de mes origines parce que je vois que les Vietnamiens se mobilisent de plus en plus pour faire en sorte qu'on puisse mettre au jour toutes les violations qui ont lieu, mais aussi toutes les améliorations des conditions humaines qui vont avoir lieu, qui vont se tenir. Et ça, c'est vraiment admirable de la part des Vietnamiens. Après tout ce que les Vietnamiens ont subi, il y a encore du positif qui en ressort et ça, c'est merveilleux. Alors, tout le monde devrait s'applaudir parce que vous faites partie de ces gens qui s'impliquent encore, qui croient encore en une démocratie possible au Vietnam, en la libéralisation des droits. Donc, on ne dira jamais assez à quel point c'est important de s'impliquer, d'essayer de convaincre les autres. Et il y a plusieurs façons de faire. Les gens me demandent, oui, mais qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire? Nous, on est petits, mais c'est en se rassemblant, on peut déposer des pétitions à la Chambre des communes. Je peux faire, dès que j'ai 25 signatures, dès qu'en fait, n'importe quel député a 25 signatures sur une feuille de citoyens canadiens, on peut déposer une pétition à la Chambre des communes et exiger du ministre qui est responsable, soit de la condition des droits humains, soit des affaires étrangères. Donc, on peut exiger une réponse à l'intérieur de 45 jours ouvrables. La même chose si on écrit des lettres, on appelle ça des order of paper, des lettres au ministre, ça prend aussi une réponse du ministre. J'envoie des lettres à l'ambassadeur du Vietnam au Canada également. Et il y a des questions. Donc, si les gens m'envoient des informations pour que je sois au courant de ce qui se passe au Vietnam ou de ce qui se passe au Canada, donc, moi, je peux relayer cette information-là soit aux journalistes, soit à la période des questions qui se passe à tous les jours et qui est très médiatisée. Utilisez ces outils-là et si jamais vous avez des questions, posez-les-moi et je pourrai vous aiguiller, mais gênez-vous pas pour intervenir auprès de vos députés. Just be sure that if you want to have an influence, you have to use the tools that are at our disposition. So you can ask your member of parliament to table a petition for you in the House of Commons. As long as we have 25 signatures on the petition, we can ask the minister who is related to the issue in the petition to answer in 45 days. It's the same with a letter on the order of paper. It's the same if we ask a question in the House, you will have an answer. Sometimes you can wait for long, but c'est le propre des luttes sociales. On doit être patient pour voir des transformations au niveau des mentalités et des façons de faire, mais il y a de l'espoir. Donc, get more young Canadians, especially young Vietnamese Canadians, involved in those discussions and events are really useful for the cause. And we are there to have a lot more information. So they talked about education. We have to educate people here too. Not a lot of people, not all people, even all Vietnamese know what is happening in Vietnam. Even if I'm an MP, I didn't know exactly what happened for the Formosa company, the spill in Vietnam, until someone told me, okay, this is happening, what can you do? What can we do together to ask the government not to imprison 100 people who were just in the streets? So, c'est avec vous tous, donc merci de votre implication, merci de faire preuve d'empathie d'abord, de faire preuve d'amour aussi, et de vouloir faire partie de la solution pour faire en sorte qu'on puisse améliorer le sort et la qualité de vie des gens au Vietnam, mais partout à travers le monde. Et c'est en sensibilisant les gens de cette façon, de façon pacifique, de façon diplomatique aussi, qu'on va finir par y arriver. Et surtout dans le contexte actuel des manifestations un peu plus radicales, je pense que ce que l'événement se veut aujourd'hui, c'est vraiment quelque chose de très, 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 très positif et de très harmonieux. Alors, merci pour tout votre courage. Thank you for being here, getting involved, and to spread the word. Merci, Vietnamplify.
So, presenting Frederick Vauvin and Ilang Ta, who will give an overview of the human rights situation in Vietnam. They have both worked under Senator No on the human rights situation in Vietnam annual report.
Donc, pour présenter la situation des droits humains au Vietnam, nous avons Frédéric Vauvin et Ilang Ta qui ont tous les deux travaillé sur le rapport annuel du sénateur Ngo à la situation des droits de la personne. Donc, accueillons-les chaleureusement.
Cảm ơn quý vị đã ở đây hôm nay. Thank you all for being here today. When we say violations of human rights, we don't immediately think of Vietnam. We think of Syria, we think of Yemen, we think of North Korea, or even Somalia, but not Vietnam. We all agree human rights should be a fundamental right ensured to all citizens of the world, and everyone should have the right to express their belief and their opinion. This year, the World Bank published a report praising Vietnam's economic growth. Infrastructure and social services policies have improved the lifestyle of many Vietnamese. In reality, this is an illusion of improvement and progress that hides many problems, including repression of dissidents, repression of minorities, physical and mental intimidations, house arrests, violence. Don't you think those actions can be called human rights violations? Everyone has heard about the Vietnam War, but not everyone knows about the labor camps implemented by the one-party state. Between 1 and 2 million Vietnamese were in prison. Labor camps forced obedience and loyalty to the government in power. Many died of hunger, physical and mental abuse. People fled after the war. For those who could not escape, the civil rights worsened as the judicial system became more and more repressive.
Bonjour tout le monde. Hi everyone. We define human rights in these simple terms. Rights are the basic conditions of a human being's good life, which are recognized as such by the legal code of the state. If we say it negatively, it would be rights are those opportunities, the absence of which deprives the human being of something essential. With that being said, we cannot have rights if we do not have liberty. Without liberty, there is no protection for human rights. Right now, there are many human rights violations in Vietnam. Human rights in Vietnam have long been a matter of much controversy between the government of Vietnam, some international human rights organizations, and Western governments. It is undisputed that the government of Vietnam actively fails to address or take action on its current situation involving those violations. Under its current constitution, the Communist Party of Vietnam is the only one allowed to rule, and as you can, in their constitution, Article 4.1 says, the Communist Party of Vietnam is the leading force of the state and society. In Vietnam, there can only be one political party, which is the Communist Party. The Communist Party controls the nomination of leaders. Therefore, it prevents Vietnamese citizens from choosing their leader of choice. The best way to involve human rights and to protect them will be to have numerous political parties take position and engage in the discussion. We all agree that a government should abide by its laws. However, it is not the case in Vietnam. The state of Vietnam governs by rule of law, which means that it denies constitutional rights at will and manipulates the law in order to meet their objectives. They control the judicial system by creating very broad laws, which are often used to punish those that oppose them. Vietnam's legal system is based on civil law. Its legal system does not follow legal precedents. Without the law of precedents, there is no consistency in court rulings, and the outcomes vary for each specific case. As an example, this year, Phan Minh Hoang, a 52-year-old Vietnamese French blogger, was stripped of his Vietnamese nationality and was expelled to France after he was arrested for political writing and activism. This is the first time in history that Vietnam has used that measure to punish dissidents. Not only is there no consistency in court rulings, the Vietnamese Communist Party controls the administration of the courts and actively violate essential rights. This happened in the case of Doan Huy Chun, a union leader and labor activist. He was arrested for having peacefully organized garment workers. He was denied a lawyer during the closed-door trial and prevented from speaking in his own defense during the proceedings. He was sentenced to between 7 and 9 years in prison in 2007. Father Thaddeus Nguyen Van Lee has also been a victim of manipulated trials. He is a 65-year-old Catholic priest and a prominent human rights activist. He was tried for having joined a pro-democracy movement. During his trial, he was immediately held silent with a hand over its mouth by the security officer behind him. Unlike our criminal code where crimes are defined by case laws and precedents, their penal code is too vague when it comes to defining a crime. The government of Vietnam uses their own interpretation only to punish whoever speaks up against them. For example, Vietnam considers any criticism or opposition to the government to be a national security matter. As you can see, Vietnam often uses Article 79 of the Penal Code to take matters into their own hands. Recently, there has been a revision of the Penal Code that holds lawyers criminally responsible for not reporting clients to the authorities for a number of supposed crimes they have committed. Among those crimes, criticizing or opposing the government is considered to be a national security matter in which severe criminal penalties await. The reality is that prisoners of conscience are often forced to endure manipulated trials, long detention and solitary confinement, intimidation, and torture in prison. So far, Vietnam has released over 18,000 prisoners who had been convicted of crimes such as murder, drug and human trafficking, and bribery, and yet no political prisoners have been released.
Right now, as I speak, somewhere in Vietnam, someone's house is being searched with no warning, no warrant. Someone is being persecuted, jailed, or placed under house arrest with no formal charges. Someone is being beaten by the police or tortured by thugs. The grassroots activists, the bloggers, live in constant fear. Every day they face harassment, intimidation, physical assault, and risk of imprisonment. However, with the rise of social medias, more and more bloggers and activists are denouncing and criticizing those violations of human rights. I have a question for you all. Out of 180 countries, where do you think Vietnam is ranked concerning freedom of the press? 25, 155, 175? 175, not far behind Somalia or North Korea. Not the best as a model of improvement, right? The Vietnamese government maintains a tight control on all media support: TV, radio, newspapers, internet. All mass medias belong or are influenced by the government. Vietnam Post and Telecommunication, Vietel, FPT Telecom are all controlled by the one-party state. This structure sadly allows a system of state propaganda. The government gives to the representative of the press official news to be reported and published. Any political sensitive events that occur are kept from the population. There are unwritten rules. Editor-in-chiefs, senior journalists, consultants are all party members of the Communist Party. Those who have press cards are not recognized and not considered officially as journalists. And even approved journalists are not safe against state-sponsored violence. On February 15th of this year, the journalist Lu Ngoc Tan was physically assaulted by thugs and suffered severe brain trauma. His family refused to raise the case in public due to police pressure. All news reports concerning this incident were censored on all media platforms. Vietnam has the highest internet growth rate in Southeast Asia. With a population of 19 million people and 35 million social media users, the government is afraid of an uncontrollable environment where people can freely express their criticism of the government. Similar to the press, all internet providers are state-owned. In 2015, the government amended Article 117 of the Penal Code with a clause that can be loosely interpreted as punishing dissenters who have yet to commit a crime with a sentence duration ranging from 1 to 5 years of imprisonment. The government also created what we call the Green Dam, which is a software similar to the Chinese Great Firewall. This means retailers are forced to install the software on every computer that they sell. This has severe consequences. For example, Facebook, Yahoo 360 has been selectively blocked, knocked offline when inappropriate information was published, making Vietnam a black hole of internet users. Also, cyber troops operate on the internet as online pro-governmental soldiers, publishing mass articles favoring the one-party state governments, intimidating dissidents' voices, bloggers, human rights activists, and intruding on net citizens' privacy. Bloggers are targeted by the actual governments. In the past 4 months, 8 pro-democratic bloggers were imprisoned. 2 are currently being hunted down. Unsurprisingly, Vietnam has ranked as the second worst country in the world for internet users. I would like to now call 2 of those victims to your attention. Nguyen Van Dai, 2017 Human Rights Award recipient. He was charged under Article 88 for conducting propaganda against the state. His office was shut down and hasn't seen his family since. He's awaiting trial, facing 20 years of imprisonment. Han Huyen Yig Tuk, a blogger and creator of an internet provider, EIS, was accused of attempting to overthrow the government, a social economic post criticizing the state. He's also awaiting trial and facing 16 years of imprisonment. I would like to recognize also other bloggers currently in prison for expressing their opinion.
Vietnam has recently violated the freedom of speech of Mother Mushroom. Who is she? Her name is Nguyen Ngoc Quinn. She is a 37-year-old blogger whose nickname originated from the nickname Mushroom that she gave to her daughter. She runs a blog which is critical of the government and covers issues such as land confiscation, freedom of speech, and police brutality. She has been sentenced to 10 years in prison under Article 88 of the Penal Code by the country's authorities on June 29th of 2017. She's famous for her quote, "Who will speak if you don't?" She voiced support for fellow dissidents and publicly campaigned for the release of many political prisoners. In September 2009, the police took Mother Mushroom from her home in the middle of the night and questioned her about her blog post that criticized government policies on China. She was released after 9 days, but the police intimidated her and harassed her. She was put under house arrest on numerous occasions to prevent her from attending important events. The police reportedly said that in addition to her Facebook and blog posts, other supposed crimes she committed included giving interviews to CNN and Radio Free Asia. The Communist Party has also actively silenced Chan Thi-nga, who is part of a growing community of Vietnamese rights bloggers and activists who use Facebook and YouTube to voice criticism, share updates about prisoners of conscience, and support one another in their struggles for political freedom. She was arrested on January 21 under 88 of the Penal Code. She was recently sentenced to 9 years in prison and 5 years probation on a charge of conducting propaganda against the state on July 27, 2017. Would you also believe me if I told you that not only is freedom of expression not respected, but freedom of assembly too? The state of Vietnam considers peaceful assemblies to be inciting public disorder when it is not led by public offices or state-operated organizations. They also consider it to be carrying out activities aimed at overthrowing the government. As a result, assemblies are often dispersed within minutes because of police interventions. Protesters are brought into interrogating rooms and are detained. Others will be sent to social rehabilitation centers. Police interventions often end in bloodshed by uniformed and plainclothes police. The police are given absolute power to use sticks, tear gas, bangers, and crackers to attack the petitioners. The victims of these attacks include the elderly and children. Not only does the government actively crack down on assemblies, state-owned media and cyber troops launch massive campaigns of defamation against protesters who simply exercise their right to freedom of expression. The most concrete example would be in the recent event that happened in 2016, where there has been a marine life disaster which resulted in water pollution. Fish carcasses were reported to have washed up on the beaches. Formosa denied responsibility after discharging illegal toxic waste in drainage pipes. Vietnam has remained inactive in their investigation. Not only has the Vietnamese government been inactive, they have cracked down peaceful protests and civic action from affected fishermen, including arresting Nguyen Van Hoa, a citizen journalist who covered the Formosa protests. Nguyen Van Hoa was charged for abusing democratic freedoms under Article 258 of the Vietnamese Penal Code. When we think of freedom of religion, we think of the right to express our religion or faith. Freedom of religion is guaranteed by the Vietnamese Constitution under Article 24, and yet the Vietnamese government has been inconsistent with its policies on faith and its treatment of religious groups. The state strictly controls and oversees the religious activities and its involvement in the religious lives of the citizens, especially unregistered groups that have been deemed to be a threat to national security. And the groups that are usually targeted are the Montagnard, Cao Dai, and Hoa Hao. Why? Because the religious practice has a political component that promotes democracy and human rights. Recently, Vietnam has drafted a law with the objective of improving the situation on freedom of religion, but international organizations such as Amnesty International deemed that the wording is ambiguous and could not effectively protect religious freedom. The police has recently attacked Vietnamese Catholics on 28 June 2017. The Catholic group attempted to defend a cross they had put up on land claimed by their church. The police threw stones at them and beat around 4 of them. There are many victims of repression of freedom of religion. Among them are Nguyen Van Ya, who is a Hoa Hao teacher. He was jailed because he assisted the funeral of one of the advocates of Hoa Hao, and while in prison, he was denied access to any medical treatment for his blood pressure. He has gone almost completely deaf because of the routine beatings. Another victim would be Nguyen Con Chin. He is a pastor and was jailed because of his religious activities as the director of Vietnam-U.S. Lutheran Alliance Church, and their activities were considered anti-government and anti-communist by the authorities. During his trial, the pastor was denied a lawyer and was not allowed to speak in his own defense. Mrs. Chan, his spouse, was also arrested and tortured for engaging in activities that promote freedom of religion. So I would like to thank you for being here and having listened to our presentation. We would like to draw your attention to a video that shows you the current situation of Vietnam's current oppression on activists. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chào các bạn, tôi là Nguyễn Văn Thành, hiện đang ngồi ở đồn công an quận Ngũ Hành Sơn, thành phố Đà Nẵng.
Activists in Vietnam face retaliation for their activities. And in recent years, we've seen a rise in the number of people who are being physically attacked by groups of thugs who appear to work in connivance with the police. The sort of activists that are being attacked include land rights activists, people who are environmental activists, people who are religious freedom activists. It's a wide gamut. One should remember that this is a one-party state where expression and activities are controlled by the government, and the internet provides the only outlet for activists to be able to say what's happening, to describe the injuries they've gotten, and to demand that the international community pressure Vietnam to stop the attacks.
Bốn thằng, các bạn có biết không, 4 thằng thanh niên, 4 thằng như con trâu, nó chặn xe lại, nắm cổ mình, nó quăng xuống đất, đánh vô mặt, đánh mình bất tỉnh.
Họ thường đánh tập trung vào phần mang tai, thái dương, đầu, xương sườn, xương sống và phần phổi.
When activists report attacks to the police, very little happens. There are hardly any investigations. There are hardly any consequences for the thugs who perpetrate the attacks. In many cases, people believe that the thugs are probably working with the police. In fact, what we've seen is when attacks take place where officials are nearby or are actually present, after the attackers are finished, the people who get arrested are the victims, the activists, who then get detained, taken in for interrogation. In some cases, they're charged with crimes as well.
Từ 20 mét đến từ chỗ tôi đứng đến cổng công an là 20 mét là tôi nhận là mình đánh đập người vô cớ của các lực lượng an ninh hoặc thường phục.
Several years ago, Vietnam realized that their human rights record was being judged on the basis of the number of arrests and the number of political prisoners. They realized that they were being targeted by the international community based on that assessment, based on numbers. And so I think what they've changed is their tactics. In a number of cases, the arrests are still occurring, and we do see people still going to court. But in other cases, we're seeing more and more of these thuggish attacks, which the government denies involvement in.
Donc, merci beaucoup à Frédéric et Ilan pour cette description de la situation des droits humains au Vietnam. Donc, merci beaucoup pour la recherche aussi.
So coming all the way from Toronto, we are happy to welcome Dan Chi Hung, former Vietnamese prisoner of conscience, who will tell us his story. Dan Chi Hung's first language is Vietnamese, but he will try his best to communicate in English. Mary Tran will present as mediator for this section.
Donc maintenant nous aurons le témoignage de M. Dan Chi Hung, qui est un ancien prisonnier de conscience. Il vient de Toronto, sa langue maternelle est le vietnamien. Il va nous parler en anglais aujourd'hui. Il va donc parler en anglais pour nous aujourd'hui. Et pour animer le témoignage, nous avons Nha Uyển Trang qui va être sa médiatrice.
Hi, hello everybody. My name is Marie, and this is Dan Chi Hung.
Bonjour, good afternoon. Kính chào quý vị.
So basically today we're here because we've seen the first part where we were very well explained how in Canada human rights works, how we're so blessed with a legal system that works, that has legal precedents and everything. This side of this presentation, we have a testimonial from an ex-prisoner in Vietnam. Actually, he will tell us that he was in prison more than once. So that's a lot of experience to share with us today. And I just wanted to invite you guys to hear his story. And because this will take approximately 20 to 30 minutes, is it okay if we sit? Could you allow us to sit? Thank you so much. Xin mời anh ngồi.
Kính chào quý vị. Hi everybody. You can sit.
Oh, thank you.
Before I sit, I want to tell something with everybody. The first table, my first language is Vietnamese language, and I'm newcomer in Canada, only 2 months and 2 years and 10 months. That's why my English, my voice not very well, but I try, because if we don't try, we cannot do anything. The second thing, you see my scarf? My scarf is symbol of the Vietnamese flag for the Vietnamese refugee people live in Canada, in USA, and every country in the world. And I respect that. And today I wear for remember about my country, about everybody in Vietnam now have the controlled by Vietnamese government. They don't have freedom. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're here today, and the first thing that I think that I want you to share with me as well, and then with the audience as well, is I was told that you were born in Vietnam in the communist system and government. Why did you become an enemy when you were born there? How did that happen?
I was born in a family. My family, a lot of people is a member of Communist Party, and they kept some very important position in Vietnamese government, like the education system, military, or communist police. However, I recognize the nature of the Communist Party and become the enemy of the Communist Party because I have some reason here. The first of all, I like that Ho Chi Minh. He is leader of Communist Party. He's not talented, but the Communist Party told with everybody he's talented. He's liar.
So basically, what I understand is that in your family, in your immediate family members, a lot of them hold important positions in the government. So they're communist.
Yeah.
And even that, with that such a strong influence, you still recognize that the nature of the Communist Party is not good.
Yeah.
And the first reason that you're telling us is
he is not talented, but the Vietnamese government told he's talented. That's why he's liar. And I don't want to share this idea with everybody. I want to just about Ho Chi Minh, you know?
So you want to tell people the truth about Ho Chi Minh, that you don't think that he's talented as his party claims him to be.
Yeah. And also, my country is very poor. Everybody know about my country. If the government of the Vietnam, they're running well with my country not poor. And everybody want to live in my country. And you know, after 1975, a lot of most people supporting my idea, supporting my statement. And however, I realize that who in the world have few countries is communist control, like North Korea and Vietnam. Every country is very poor and no freedom. And I think my country is the same problem.
Yeah, so I understand what you say. You're basically saying that if the government is doing such a great job as they claim they're doing, why is Vietnam so poor? And why are all the communist countries around the world are still so poor?
And also, I found the communism is paranoid, not true for human rights, not really for people. Because, you know, because not based on humanity, they make a very, very paranoid communism.
So basically, it just makes people they rule by fear, right? They make people scared. That's why they can control them. They
Yeah.
don't let people free so that they can have idea. They don't respect the human rights. And just to relate to that is that it's so amazing to me that even in such even in your family, immediate family with like the communist government, you're still able to recognize these things. How did you come about to recognize that all these things were not good when you live in Vietnam, when your family members that you grew up with are all communists?
Okay, I understand your idea. And one more thing I want to tell. When I enter the Hanoi University of Technology, because I'm not political, and also I'm not a writer, I'm not a blogger, but when I study in Hanoi University of Technology, I have the time to go to library for research some document because I want to know why my country very poor. Nobody can speak anything. And I go to library. I look at some memoir, some article, some newspaper, some history document from the Vietnam, from Russian, from the Chinese, from another country like Poland and Ukraine. And I found the just criminal of the Vietnamese government. And Ho Chi Minh and Vietnamese government kill a lot of people. They do not have the freedom for Vietnam. Yes, that's why I become the enemy of my country, of the Vietnamese government. And also, when I look at the society, nobody can speak. Nobody can writing something about bad thing of the government. That's why I become the enemy of the Vietnamese government.
Because you spoke up.
Yeah.
You spoke up when you were not supposed to. You spoke up.
Yeah.
I think that's why people say that knowledge is power. Basically, you went to university, and when you were studying engineering, you were studying something completely different from like politics. And you went to the library. You were able to research so much, and you learned so much more than you expected to learn. You learned all about the crimes that were happening in Vietnam. And that's when you decided that you were the voice that they needed, and you spoke up. That's why they didn't
Exactly.
like him and put him to jail.
Yeah, because I think if only me, only myself talk about abuse, violence, no human rights in Vietnam, the government in Vietnam and stop my mouth. Also, 100 people like me, the government easier for stop the mouth. 1,000 people, the same problem. But everybody in the Vietnam is Vietnamese people. Everybody talking know about the Vietnamese issue. They grew, they stand up, and the Vietnamese government cannot do something for stop Roma. Yeah.
So I think that's the reason why we're here today, is because in Vietnam, they don't have freedom of speech. So if one person speak or 100% speak, the government has the power to shut their mouth. However, in Canada, where freedom speech is recognized as human rights, we can be their voice. They can't speak, but we're the one that can voice that all these injustice and what we're seeing, so that we can be the voice. We can say what they cannot say within their own country.
Exactly. Yeah. What did I say? Yeah.
I'm glad you agree with that.
Sorry. Yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
So leading on to the second question that I have for you, can you share with us your experience in jail? And well, now that we know a little bit why you became an enemy of the government, the communist government, can you let us, the audience, know how many times you were in jail and how was that experience?
Oh, I have 3 times in prison, 2 times in Vietnam, and 1 time in Thailand. 2 times in Vietnam, I was in prison in 2006 and 2007 because I write some article public in internet so about the criminal of the Vietnam government. And also I write something about the corrupt of the Vietnam government. And after that, I and some friends, we meeting in the street Again, the Chinese Communist government killed the fishermen in the Vietnamese Ocean. And Vietnamese government, they sell the land and ocean to the to Chinese government. They don't want Vietnamese people against the Chinese Communist government. And we are protest and we against the Communist Chinese government, and Vietnamese government use police for arrest somebody go to prison with me, and I have 10 friends the first time. But the first time I have only 1 week in prison because my family, they as Communist Party member, and the sponsorship for me get out of prison. After 2007, I have 3 weeks in prison too because of the same problem with the Vietnamese government. And the second time, my family deal with the Vietnamese government. They deal, if I get out of prison, I stop writing, stop talking about human rights, about abuse, about the violence in the Vietnam. My family want to protect me, they want to control me. But when I get out, I say, no, I continue. Because I want to sacrifice myself for my country, for Vietnamese people. And I continue the writing. After that, I escaped the Vietnamese government. They saw I continue writing and public in some book. Here's first of a book. I have a lot of books write about the Vietnamese criminal. And some book have in the Toronto Public Library in some country. And the Vietnamese government, they doesn't like that. They want to stop my mouth. They send letter to police and most wanted me. I escaped from the Hanoi, the capital of the Vietnam, to South Vietnam, Saigon. After that, I get out to Cambodia, and after go to Thailand. I want to go to Malaysia for working with the worker. Because I working for one, organization for protect the worker. But when I came to Thailand, Vietnamese government still send letter to Interpol of Thailand, and they arrest me the first time, and they want to bring me back to Vietnam, and I get 10 months in prison in Thailand before I came to Canada, sponsored by Canada government and even Russia.
So I can really, yes, definitely a big hand of applause for that. Thank you.
And I want to talk about my experience in Vietnam. 2 times in prison. You know, nobody live in prison. All the way you see darkness. All the way it's nighttime, not daytime. You see darkness and nothing. But when I live in Thailand, a little bit easier. I live with somebody from Montana, they are refugee, and I help them to make a document to the UNHCR, and now somebody disaster in the Kitchener, Ontario, by Canada government.
So even in prison, he was still continuing to help people. When he was in Thailand, the prisoner was there. You helped them with, because you were able to put the documents together, to write in English and to present, to redo their documents for them.
Yeah.
And then you were able to help them get their visa application, is that?
Yeah, for a refugee certificate.
For a refugee certificate. And that person is now in Kitchener, Canada. So a big, oh, I'm sorry, where was that?
They are Montana.
Montana.
Yeah, they're refugee too.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
And you know, in prison, I take some children for English, for Vietnamese language too. And also, you know, optimism, very important, because you don't know about the future. I always sing a song. I looking a bird. I take the people. That's why I always happy. And the last thing, I think if I die for my country free, I'm sacrificed. And I love my life, but I love my country first. If everybody in Vietnam have freedom, I die, I always happy. No problem. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think that's not everybody can say that, and I think it's so amazing that you can be so confident into sharing your story. And I think that like the what I like the most, the lesson that I learned a lot is also always to be hopeful, to be optimistic. Like you said, when you were in prison, then you were listening to the birds, just that hopeful, because you don't know, you cannot know about the future. But if you are hopeful, that's what got you through. And then just the thought that if, and what's even more amazing is that the thought that you have, if you're by yourself and you're the only one suffering, it's okay if it's for your country.
Exactly. I want to sacrifice for my country, for everybody. Vietnam, these people, they cannot talk anything. Now I'm stay here for talking. I'm continue writing something in the Facebook. Also, I continue publish something in the internet. I write book, and also I'm working hard for build up my life. And also I continue contact with the Canada government for talk about human rights in the Vietnam. And last year I go to House Common. No, 2015. I came to the House Common for tell them something about the just human rights, violent abuse in Vietnam. It's my everything I do for Vietnam, for my country. Yeah.
One thing that I wanted the audience to know is that we all know you through your pen name, Đặng Chí Hùng, but that's not your real name. But Đặng Chí Hùng is the name that you go by, and then with all this stories that you write, the books that you write about.
Oh, I want to share a little bit thing about my pen name. My real name is Hang. It's my first name. My family is a farm, and if you check internet, you know my real name is Farm Anh Hồng, but I choose Đặng Chí Hùng because it's that I have an idol. He is Đặng Chí Bình. He not define my family, but he's my idol. He is the former spider of the South of Vietnam. The South of Vietnam Army sent him to the North of Vietnam. After North of Vietnam is the Vietnamese communist, arrested him to prison, and he got 18 years in prison, and very, very difficult for his life. And after that, he came to America for resettlement, and he wrote a book called Black Steel. I read the four of Black Steel, and I love this book, and I understand him. And last week, he came from Boston to Toronto, and I bring him to Ottawa and go around Canada. And I met him the first time. Before, when I use his pen name, I write an email for him and ask him, "You agree with me? Use my pen name like your pen name?" And he say, "Yes, okay." And that's why a lot of people know my pen name, Đặng Chí Hùng, not my real name. But I'm happy with my pen name. Yeah.
I think the next question that I have for you is, we know that your experience that you were jailed, as you said, that because the government was not happy with you organizing all these protests, even if they were like peaceful. And the reason why you organize these protests with the groups of people is that you don't agree with them. And can you give us specific examples of why you don't agree with them and how corrupted the Vietnamese government is? How are they violating human rights? As for your own experience, we actually heard the PowerPoint, the presentation. We have numbers, but for a testimonial perspective and a witness perspective, can you share that experience with us?
The story of corrupt in Vietnam, we have a lot of examples, but I can take one example, new example. I think 1 month ago, if the Vietnamese people, you can search in the Google in one article from the Vietnam. One guy, he is a director of provincial environment. It's in by provide, it's small province, but he has a build a villa like a castle. They estimate the castle of his like they need to spend at least $10 million. But but basic salary of this guy only 8 million Vietnam dong, equivalent $400 per month.
So so the director is someone that it was working so the director is from the government. So it's a government officer.
But he is small officer.
Okay, and then he has a small salary of $400 per month.
And his wife did nothing.
And his wife did not work, and they were able to build a 10 million US villa.
For villa.
And how did that happen?
I don't know. Because you don't know. I don't know. How about income? Do you believe that his salary for building a villa is not just for one example? The second example, a few years ago, we can see a newspaper, the Vietnamese government, show that the Prime Minister of the Vietnam is Nguyễn Tân Dũng, and basically for every Prime Minister in the Vietnam, they have basic salary only $800 US dollar per month. But why they have the luxurious life? They have a lot of power. They send
their children
to another country for study, and they pay for themselves.
It's very expensive to be an international student.
Do you believe it's true money? No. This money corrupt from the people, for sure. And the second thing, in the Vietnam, a lot of example about abuse or violence. Because we heard from the article of Senator Ngô, we know, but I have one more example. You know about blogger Tạ Phong Tần? Now he resides in America. See, the former lieutenant of the police of Vietnam. But a few years ago, she tried to write something about abuse, corrupt in Vietnam. And they arrested her to prison. They get her 15 years, after down to 10 years in prison. And 2015, she arrived to America because the American government sponsored she to America. But in Vietnam, when you write something about corruption, you write something about abuse or violence, so you need to get in the 88 or 258 crime code. Also,
you can be arrested under these codes.
Yeah, and also, if you talk something about bad thing of government, the police can kill you. Yeah, one example, a news article, we can see the Nguyễn Hilton. He talked about freedom for religious and also freedom for Vietnam. When police arrest him to prison, no, not prison, but police station. After one day, he dead by cut. Yeah. You can search in the internet very easy, and Human Rights Watch know about this article and everything I choose in the Vietnam. We can talk about bad thing about government. The police, the government can kill you, arrest you, go to prison, and you become, a people, not do nothing.
And for your personal story, I wanted to ask you, how did you get out? How were you able to escape? So we know that the first 2 times when you were in Vietnam, you got out of jail because you were sponsored by your family. But the last time, how did you get out, and why are you here today?
Okay, I want to share my story. When the Thai Interpol police arrested me to come back to Vietnam, because the Vietnamese government want to bring me back to Vietnam, go to jail, because they most wanted me. But when in the car go to the airport, the US government send notification to Thai government, stop, keep me in the Thailand, because I'm refugee. Because the UNHCR and Human Rights Watch wait for me. And after that, I lived 10 months in prison. United Nations, Canada government, Senator Ngô, and BPSOS from Tiến sĩ Nguyễn Đình Thắng for help the refugee people. And also Miss Zanit Binland from the Human Rights Watch.
International help does help.
And they help me.
Does make a difference.
Yeah, escape to get out of prison and reset in Canada. And I say to thank you Canada because Canada helped me a lot of for get out of prison.
I think that I'm getting cues from Valerie to wrap it up. So we have 2 minutes, but I think that it's important to take these 2 minutes to ask you about the last question is what can we do to make a difference? I know that you're continuing your work that you started in Vietnam, even though they tried to shut you once, twice, it didn't work, even here. So what can you do? What are you doing and how can we help you?
If I live in Vietnam, I can very easy for connect with activities and also the Vietnamese people for make something. But now I'm staying in Canada. So far, not Vietnam. But now the social media are very easy for connection with everybody. I want the social media give press for Vietnamese government. And we want Vietnamese people know about human rights. It's basic. And also they stand up for protect them. And however, I want to make investment 1,000 pesos for bring the Vietnamese government to the criminal court. Yeah.
So there's 2 things that we can do. First of all is because with social media now, it's a new platform. It gives us more power so that we can join this movement and we can voice so that the Vietnamese citizen can know, we can use the social media platform and the tools that are available to us. And the second thing that Mr. Hung is doing is that he's writing a 1,000-page indictment to bring the Vietnamese communist government in front of the international court. So that's the 2 projects that you're working on, along with other projects.
And also, I want everybody stand with me for speak about human rights in the Vietnam, because I want everybody in the world know about just human rights in Vietnam, not like Vietnamese government say it's liar.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your sharing your story.
Before I left, I want to show with everybody some picture. Here's a picture. So that citizens who were beaten by the Vietnamese Communist police for protesting against Formosa toxic waste spill. The second picture, the person who were arrested for protesting against the Chinese communist killed Vietnamese fishermen on the Vietnamese Ocean. This picture in Ho Chi Minh City. And this picture, here the Vietnamese government is using the police to rob the land of the people. They rob the land and they arrested people. And the people had their land to stolen by the government and they became homeless now. In the Vietnam, a lot of people homeless now because the government robbed the land of them. I told you before, this new West people, he's cutting by the police in police station a few months ago. And here's my book. I showed you already. I expose the criminal of Ho Chi Minh and Communist Party of the Vietnam. And this picture, when I live in prison, and Canada government take a picture for me, and now it's my memoir, you know, and my my picture. I'm very like this picture because show me in prison. And some friend lining up to visit me in the Thai jail. And some jailmate in the Thai prison. The photo was taken a day before I arrived in Canada, and some children I sponsored them, and now they live in Kitchener, Ontario. They are Montana refugees. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you.
There will now be a break, 15 minutes. So please be back for 2:05. I would like to remind you to not bring food or drinks into the auditorium as specified by Concordia University.
We would just like to thank Dr. Chihum and Marie for their amazing job on this testimonial. By the way, I might not have mentioned it, but yeah, Unchan is a lawyer too, so she was very sharp on this. Thank you very much.
Water bottle?